Transformers stuff.
Hey, we're live. Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the BAM podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, here with my frequent co-host, Jacob Blackman, for a Sunday night chill stream where we talk about various geeky things like Transformers number 5 from Image Comics and Savage Cocaine Owlbear.
Savage Cocaine Owlbear. It's not just normal Cocaine Owlbear. It's Savage Cocaine Owlbear because
Cocaine Owlbear cannot be contained.
Savage Worlds.
Savage Worlds fans demanded their Cocaine Owlbear. And
Yes.
here it is. It'll be coming to Kickstarter in the next 2 or 3 days. So it's exciting. But anyway, let's talk about Transformers. Jacob, I should mention hey, you know what? We didn't play our theme song, Jacob.
Gasp.
We should play the theme song. Our contractually mandated theme song. 1 second. All right, welcome to the BAM podcast. That's our music. Jacob, you are reading Image Comics Transformers.
I am.
Tell us what you think about issue number 5.
Well, issue number 5, first of all, I was blown away by issue number 4. Issue number 5 just took the entire series up a notch. The story that they're telling here has just been getting more incredible as it progresses. And them stripping the whole concept of having to use certain characters or making a series that is devoted to selling toys. Once you've eliminated that element of the Transformers story and you can just tell stories with these amazing characters, we're seeing that work out to the benefit of this comic. So, spoilers ahead for issue number 5. If the cover is
out there, gonna put this out there. The robots, they're also vehicles. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yes, indeed. In issue 4, we left off with there was a major battle between the Autobots and Decepticons that resulted in many injuries and some deaths on each side, including the critical injury of Spike Witwicky, who Optimus Prime used the power of the Matrix to attempt to heal. And it succeeded in bringing up all the hospital's machines, much to apparently the detriment of Optimus Prime, who had to use a bunch of his own life force to do such a deed. So the comic starts with this amazing group of panels that are showing a conversation between Prime and Spike's father, Sparkplug, who is a soldier, and them reliving their old lives in the wars that they both suffered through. And you're seeing the thorough connections of these people have lived the same life. They're tired of war. They want to be free of it. But this is the life they're currently living. And so meanwhile, we go back to the Decepticons, who have discovered that they can re-energize the fallen Decepticon army by stripping existing Cybertronians of their Energon life force, which they did with Skywarp in issue 4 to horrific imagery. They were just literally tearing him apart while he was begging for his life, so they could strip him for parts and Energon to revitalize the other members of their army. And we get to see some of that in the issues that show up. We get they bring up a bunch of old G1 characters, like we see Thundercracker, who's the other well-known Jet, the Seeker. We also see Rumble, Frenzy, and Reflector, of all characters. So that's a fun little bit from the cartoon.
Those are some deep cuts.
Indeed. Continuing the story, they go. we get a little insight as to what the Autobots are doing, in that they are, with the aid of the humans, specifically Sparkplug Wiki, they have attached a generator to a nearby dam, which they are going to use to revitalize the soldiers of their army. And not only that, but as they're talking with Spike or Sparkplug, they're talking about, not only will this regenerate their army, but it'll create enough energy to power Sparkplug's entire city for 10 years. And there's this moment, he looks at them like, 10 years of free power? Him realizing the benefits and changes for good that having the Autobots can potentially bring to Earth. Think about 10 years of free energy and what that would do to the world, how that would change the world. And we're talking like an afternoon's worth of power generation. But one of the divergences from the standard G1 story is one of the first Autobots that gets brought to be re-energized to this process is RC.
Oh.
So in this universe, RC was one of the Autobots who was there on the Ark and ventured with them to Earth at the very beginning. She doesn't show up later like she did in the old cartoon series.
She's an old guy who remembers
original characters.
That's kind of a cool decision, because she sort of came out of nowhere in the movie. So,
well, because back in the day they were trying to sell toys, and they were trying to sell toys to boys, and boys don't like girls. So they tested the concept of female Autobots with an episode in series 2, in season 2. It was popular, and thus they moved on with the plans to create RC for the film as a major character, and it worked out, because since then we've had all sorts of female presenting Autobots and Decepticons, which is really good, because we've needed more diversity in the Transformers for a long time. After that, it's pretty much a whole lot of combat, and it's really good. And I am not going to spoil the last 3 pages of this comic. You'll just have to see it for yourself, but it's really cool.
All right,
the last 3 pages are just made me gleeful and shout and scream in the most joyous way.
Is it Jetfire?
No, Jetfire showed up already. Jetfire showed up in issue 1 of Void Rivals.
Oh, okay.
And then he showed up again in issue 1 of Transformers. He was one of the first to be killed by the Decepticons.
It's a bummer. I always like Jetfire. So, well, maybe he comes back. We can always hope.
We can hope.
Yeah. All right, cool. So you can get that on the 21st of February on Comixology, or go to your friendly local comic shop and pick it up now. So
yes, I am a fan of physical media, so I have mine now.
It's good to have physical media. And if you like role-playing games and Transformers, last Friday we did a Valor Knights actual play over lunchtime on this very podcast, and that was a good time. So we got you covered on various geeky avenues here. So, Jacob, would it be fair to say you're really enjoying the new Transformers series?
It would be fair to say I am thoroughly enjoying the new Transformers series. The Energon universe, as I've mentioned in the past, is being controlled by Robert Kirkman, who is the same writer that brought us such things as The Walking Dead and
What's
Invincible.
That? I haven't heard of that. What's that?
Perhaps you should join us in popular media culture someday, Mike. That rock, you should get out from under it.
Anything after 1990, I'm just not interested in. Someone told me there have been new Star Wars movies, and I'm like, it's okay. So, all right. Someday I'm gonna go around and seeing The Matrix. I hear that wasn't too bad, but cool. So I don't know how long to keep this bit going. So do you think it's building to something? Because my biggest problem with Kirkman has always kind of been that he, he Kirkmans it up, right?
Well, I'm certain this is building to something because we've seen the crossover elements in Cobra Commander and the Duke comics. We haven't yet seen any crossover elements in the G.I. Joe comic, but I'm sure they're coming.
All right. Well, keep an eye on it. Looking forward to it. Shall we talk about Savage Cocaine Owlbear?
Absolutely.
And now people might not realize how we came up with Cocaine Owlbear. Do you want to tell them that story?
So early in last year, 2023, there premiered a fun little movie called Cocaine Bear. This was based on an actual bear from history. There was a drug dealer who fed cocaine to a bear who he named Pablo Escobar for how much it enjoyed ingesting cocaine. The concept of the cocaine bear and what cocaine would do to a bear was taken on by this movie, aptly titled Cocaine Bear, and it's all about what would happen if a bear just in the freaking wilderness got a hold of a bunch of cocaine and went on a cocaine-fueled rampage through a national park. Hilarity and horror ensues. It is one of those horror movies that's also funny, very much along the lines of Tremors.
Mm-hmm. Directed by Elizabeth Banks. If you're familiar with Pitch Perfect or various other movies, it was Ray Liotta's last feature release.
Yep.
Kerry Russell was in there. Anyway, this movie had a huge marketing campaign. It was a big deal in 2023. So one day, Jacob and I are talking as we do on a Sunday morning. And I said, it'd be fun. He said, no, Mike, would be fun. I said, Cocaine Owlbear.
And I drew this a day later.
And it's a thing of beauty for all time. And I said, I can't keep the beauty Cocaine Owlbear to myself. And Jacob made a t-shirt, which has been selling very well for him. And based on this picture, I did Cocaine Owlbear, a ill-advised honey heist hack, which sold very well for us. But we heard this groundswell, this great cry as if a million voices suddenly shouted out and were silenced from the Savage Worlds fan base saying, it's Fast, Furious, and fun? Cocaine. And also Savage Worlds. So put those two things together. So we have done, with Cameron Lyle's help, a Savage Worlds conversion of Cocaine Owlbear. And we actually did an actual play this in the podcast a couple weeks ago. And this will be on Kickstarter next week.
Not only that, but this game is beloved in Ukraine.
Yeah,
I have seen multiple live stream games from the Ukraine, from Ukraine, about Cocaine Owlbear.
I've seen it on at least one Russian podcast too. So I think it's conceivable Cocaine Owlbear could heal all the problems in Eastern Europe if we would just embrace it more fully. But,
I would like that to be the case.
Yeah. So anyway, the conceit of Cocaine Owlbear is that you don't have to be an owlbear. It might have been cooler if we did an owlbear game, but it's hard to find 6 different varieties of owlbears, especially when using stock art. So the idea was
there are other mystical creatures we could have included.
We did. In fact, there is a unicorn you can play. There's various other woodland creatures like skunks, badgers, geese, personally one of my favorites. So you are a pack of woodland creatures in a fantasy forest. and a sketchy-looking courier comes through your glade, and you kill him and eat him. But he's carrying magical cocaine, and it gifts you with advanced intelligence and sentience. And so you're jumped up, you're nervous, and suddenly you're aware of you've got sentience. And can you take a chance that once this high wears off, you're going to become just a dumb creature again? No, you cannot. So you go through the messenger's bag and you find a map, the location of the rest of the cocaine stash. And you're ready to pull off a heist with the rest of your buddies to get the rest of that cocaine. And so it's sort of like an Ocean's 11 movie, but you're all
mystical forest creatures hopped up on magical cocaine.
Exactly. It's so very close to being an Ocean's 11 movie. If George Clooney was an owlbear.
You have no hands, but you have a variety of beaks, paws, and claws.
Well, owlbears kind of have hands, don't they?
No.
No,
they very much have bear claws.
Okay. So anyway, we have spent some time getting this converted and play tested for Savage Worlds. It is all laid out. It is all good to go. Let me scroll through this. If you're familiar with the comedic stylings of the Evil Bunny on Facebook, he is our layout guy, and he did, I think, a fun job. Oh, yeah. We got the various spells that you find in the spell book on the courier that you can cast. We've got powder points instead of power points. That's clever, eh? Got a little map and adventure generator and all these pre-gens. So it's a fun little, it's a fun little book, and it'll be on Kickstarter starting in a couple of days. I want to say our entry level pledge is like $4. PDFs are good to go. You'll get them shortly after you back, and then we've got POD. I've got a proof right here. It looks good. So we'll be doing POD delivery shortly after the campaign ends. And yeah, so it's fun. You should back it. Your life will be better. You look back,
and you might bring peace to Russia and Ukraine.
We've been strangely popular with the Slavic countries, and I'm very grateful. But yeah, there have been a couple of Ukrainian podcasts who had us on. We were reviewed on a really fun Russian podcast. Just haven't gotten this much exposure. I've been doing RPGs for 15 years, and I've always been scraping for whatever exposure or reviews I can get. And I do a gag game about cocaine owlbears, and all of a sudden I'm getting covered all over the world. So yeah, or at least in Ukraine and Russia. So so that's Cocaine Owlbear coming to Savage Worlds hopefully going to launch on Tuesday the 20th. So should be fun. Be there. And I have run out of things to say about this, which is an awkward problem I have in promoting my own stuff.
Jacob, well, sometimes that's all you can say. You've made your
URL. The URL.
Yes.
Let's say you want to find out about this. Know when it launches. tinyurl.com/Savage Owlbear.
Absolutely.
Take you to a Kickstarter pre-launch page. You can hit it up. Oh, we've got Carl Kiesel from Doghouse Rules. He's doing a one-pager. We have got Christopher Landauer from Pinnacle. You've heard of them. You're Savage Worlds fans. He's doing a one-pager for us. So, we're legit. This is going to be a good time. Let's see. What else we have to talk about, Jacob?
If we want to transition back to our transforming robots from space, who also turn into vehicles.
Ross Watson from Star Animal Studios is doing a one-pager for us. Called Snow Day.
So you get a whole bunch of additional adventures and material. That's great.
Yeah, we just need to do a soundtrack now. A lot of synthesizer keyboards, I think, like a Miami Vice kind of vibe.
I know a musician if we can hire him.
That could be a stretch goal. All right, Transformers. You were saying.
If you like Transformers, and you have a Transformers role-playing campaign going, I, like you, am running a Transformers game for my friends. However, I, like you, am probably finding it difficult to the fact that there are no good tabletop miniatures for Transformers. We got a handful of them from WizKids, like several years ago, but they didn't continue the entire line as they had promised us. So we here at Fainting Goat Games have produced a variety of paper miniatures based on our famous Valor Knights games. We have paper miniatures for the entire Electrocute War Adventure series. So every NPC and villain that shows up in the Electrocute War Adventures has a paper mini you can print. And just the other night, we also released the Electrocute War paper miniatures for Valor Knight Heroes, which has all the hero player characters that we have played in our various Valor Knight campaigns that we have streamed on the Banff podcast here. And I have just finished and sent to Mike the third in the series for the Chaos Lord villains, which he will be posting, I'm sure, in the next several days.
Very, very soon. So if you want to check this out, tinyurl.com/bkminis. 28 pages of Transforming Robot paper miniatures, and it's a steal. I mean, we're selling this for cheap just because of our love of Transforming Robots. $3.99. So check it out. It's a good time. You'll be happy you did. And yeah, should be fun. What are we doing next for Valor Knights? Seems like you're doing Valor Knights for Survive This, right?
I have a couple of projects for Valor Knights in tow, yes. But the next big project that I intend to do for Valor Knights is a Survive This version. Yeah. I am currently working on Superpowered Legends Volume 2, which I am working on the manuscript, and then I have a whole lot of art I need to do for that. Then I'll send it off to my publisher at Rogue Genius Games, and then I will begin work on Survive This for Valor Knights. So hopefully I can get started in that in maybe another month or two.
All right, cool. So sometime this summer, maybe we'll see that. So
hopefully,
that is good news. Oh, cool. That sounds good. Trying to, I was going to do a scroll through the paper minis for Valor Knights, and I realized it's not just one long 28-page document. We've broken it out by every adventure in small individual PDFs.
Look, you can bring up if you want though, you could bring up like the smaller one, the Valor Knight Heroes. I'm sure you can go through that easy.
Let me dig that one up. Hey, I saw Argyle the other day.
Oh, how was it? I've been looking forward to it. How was that?
Do you like the Kingsman movies?
Yes, I do.
Then you'll like this.
Okay.
It's fun. It's very much that kind of frantic comic booky sort of a spy thriller. Saw it with Ross Watson from Sir Anvil Studios. He thinks it falls apart in the third act, and he might have a point. You kind of go from there's a lot of dialogue and there's a lot of plot to all of a sudden they're just
a lot of action,
a lot of frantic, cartoony, almost ballet with machine guns and ninjas. It's a good time. I enjoyed it. Opie's daughter, Mr. Richard Cunningham, his daughter.
Yes.
What's her name?
I know who you're talking about.
Okay. She was in Jurassic World. She was she directs episodes of The Mandalorian. She was in an episode of Black Mirror. What's her name? Tell me, Jacob. What's her name? Jurassic World cast. Bryce Dallas Howard is the lead, and she does a great job.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just couldn't bring her name to mind.
I can't. I couldn't either. So
I have such a. I used to be able to just tell you the names of actors and actresses back before the internet existed. But now in the world that we have, where there are so many different movies and TV shows and streaming services, you can't possibly keep up with everything like you used to be able to.
So hey, here is the PDF of the Hero Minis. And oh my God, the colors! This looks amazing. This is
this is one of the reasons why I suggested showing off the Valor Knight heroes. Is the colors? They're much more colorful than the villains and NPCs who tend to be dark and evil and all stylish and black.
Yeah, these are much more Speed Racer than John Wick. These are this is like $1.99. If you're a Transformers game, especially, you're gonna have the guys over to play or the folks, and it's just adds a little something. It's a fun pop of color on the table, so I would say check it out. Oh, dude, I was getting my haircut the other day, and they had a game show network on the TV. There's a new Pictionary show hosted by Mr. Jerry O'Connell. Jerry O'Connell from Stand By Me.
Yeah.
From Sliders.
Yeah.
The
I
voice
saw him just the other day on the at midnight late show. The new one.
I thought you were gonna say you saw him at the Star Trek convention. I was gonna say next time you see him, tell him I told him my $12 back. But yeah,
I have not seen him personally.
Okay. And tell his wife Rebecca Romaine I said hi. He's the voice of Manager Jack Newsom on Lower Decks, and he's been the voice of Superman on like a half dozen DC animated movies. But he's also game show host of Pictionary, Jerry O'Connell. So that's a fact that exists.
Yeah.
So I can't throw any stones at his career because I am the host of the BAM podcast, which
whereas he is Jerry O'Connell.
He's Jerry O'Connell. He's Rebecca Romaine. He's been in that famous movie. Whereas maybe claim to fame is I have to say no to Patton Oswalt about once a year when he wants to come on my podcast. I'm like, no, Patton Oswalt.
Have you been saying no to Patton Oswalt?
He's been everywhere. I love Patton Oswalt. I'm sick of seeing Patton Oswalt. He's in everything. He's in everything.
The next time Patton Oswalt says he wants to be on the Banff podcast, please say yes. I love Patton Oswalt. He is a geek like us. He loves comics. He loves sci-fi. Bring Patton Oswalt to the Banff. Make sure I'm on that episode so I can just lose my breath with laughter.
Well, he's been in every other form of geek media there is. Like, pick a franchise. Huh? What?
Despite the fact that they have a direct connection, I don't think I have ever seen Patton Oswalt on a gaming show, a tabletop gaming show, specifically with Will Wheaton. And I specifically say Will Wheaton because I happen to know that Will Wheaton and Meredith Salinger, who is currently married to Patton Oswalt, are best friends and have been since they were kids.
Well, okay. Dude, he was on Community.
Yeah.
He played MODOK.
Yeah.
He seems like he's been in every single geek franchise you care to think of in one way or another.
I love Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, everyone does. I mean, I would pay him $5 to go sit out in my garden and be a garden gnome because that's how much I love Patton Oswalt. But I just don't want him. He's been everywhere. I want him on my podcast. Every once in a while, he calls me and was like, "Hey, Mike, I got to be on your podcast. You're the one geeky podcast I haven't been on, Mike." I'm like, Patton Oswalt, I love you. You're a great guy. You can't be on my podcast. And he cries a little bit, and he cusses me out. And we do this like once a year. It's a sad ritual. It's, the next time I'll have him call you, and you can let him on if you want.
Okay.
You can have Patton Oswalt. He can come on. You can talk about alternate universe Firefly shows.
I don't know Patton Oswalt personally. The one huge celebrity I know is a book author. So yeah.
I've had tangential connections to many big celebrities. I was the last waiter to serve Over Redenbacher alive. I met. He was at a family wedding back in Indiana. where he's from, and he had a female companion who was about half his age, so she was 60 or 70, and he would approach him to. I was the waiter at his table. Like, can I get something to drink? It looked scared, and then he had a stack of stickers about this thick that all said, "I met the Popcorn King," and he would shove it at you and then scurry away. It was very, very odd. So I served him his chicken Kiev and his, rice, and then 2 days later he was dead in his bathtub in California, and nothing to do with it. It wasn't me, but
Okay.
So that's my big celebrity connection. Although I've met a few. I mean, I know a lot of writers from this podcast, and I did meet Kevin Smith at a gift shop at Niagara Falls. And I said to Kevin Smith, "You ever get sick of Patton Oswalt?" He's like, "Oh my God, yeah, the devil started calling me." That's funny. He goes, he wants to be in one of my movies so bad. He wants to be hanging next to me and Jason Mewes. I'm like, "No, Patton Oswalt, it's a 2-man bit. We can't have you in front of the Quick Stop with us." He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be so funny. I could just sit there and riff off you guys. It'd be hilarious." Like, yeah, I know, he's exhausting. Funny guy.
Are you going to bring this bit to Broadway? You going to comedy clubs doing this in front of a brick wall in the background?
Are you saying I've worn out the Patton Oswalt bit? All right. Perhaps we've gone as long as we can tonight. That's 30 minutes. I almost called you Jason Mewes. Jacob Blackman. Any closing thoughts before we call it a show?
If you enjoy content like this, please help support the BAMF podcast Patreon. Even if you can only afford $1 a month, $1 a month will expand the support greatly, and share your contribution on social media so that other people can learn about the BAMF podcast and watch us do things like this. Old bearded white men talking and postulating about pop culture. What more do you need?
Try to tune us next week to listen to us talk more shit about Patton Oswalt.
Patton Oswalt, we love you. If you ever want to come on the BAM podcast, you are more than welcome. I, as the unofficial co-host, am inviting you. Forget what Mike says.
He's a cute little gnome. I mean, I have nothing against him. Isn't he in everything? Isn't he in everything?
He's not in everything.
How come on? He's a voice on Star Trek. He was in a Battlestar Galactica prequel. He writes comic books for Firefly. He's appeared in Marvel Comics cartoons, claymation.
He is not in everything.
What hasn't he been in?
But he's not in everything.
Okay, Jurassic World and Doctor Who are the two geek franchises I'm aware of that he hasn't been in. I might be wrong about Doctor Who.
Okay.
Can you think of something else he hasn't been in? Because he's been in fucking everything.
He hasn't been in Lord of the Rings.
You couldn't tell because he looks blend in with the hobbits. He could be in the background of the Shire. You would never know.
To my knowledge, he's not in any of the Masters of the Universe. He was not in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. So, see, he's not in everything.
Not everything. All right, folks. Check out the Bath Podcast. We'll catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.